Good evening. Welcome back to another episode of What's Your Story? Tonight we are sitting down with our newest volunteer, Joe Frank. You can see Joe on the desk on Fridays from 2 to 5. If you'd like to come meet him, we would love for you to stop by the library and see how he's doing in his, third week here?
It'll be my third week this week, so...
We're so delighted to have you here
thank you.
at the library and here on our set tonight. Yeah. So we usually start by asking our guests where they grew up, where they went to school, things like that.
Yeah, I was born in Schenectady, New York.
Okay, say that 3 times fast.
Yeah. And we moved to Utica, New York when I was 3. And shortly thereafter, we moved to a little town in the Mohawk Valley just east of Utica called Frankfort. And that's where I grew up. So it's the Mohawk Valley town, central New York State. Went back to college. I went to college back in Schenectady at Union College. Got my undergraduate degree there. Yeah. And that was in 1975. And then I went to work for General Electric, IT, computer stuff, mostly mainframe computers, that kind of thing, for both business and
that would take up like a whole room, that used kind to. Of a mainframe computer.
Yeah, used to, yeah. They say it's not your parents' computer anymore, or mainframe anymore. So the interesting thing about that is I've done that all my career until I retired earlier this year. And one might think, well, wouldn't you get bored? No, because the platform technology changes so rapidly. It's so
hard
different.
To keep up.
Yeah, it is. So I worked for a while, and then we moved. I was in Stamford, Connecticut, and then I met my wife, Mary Gickness, and at college. Yeah. And then she was 2 years behind me, so I was working for a while. Then when she got out of Union, she did postgraduate work in the Philadelphia area, so we lived there for a while. It was easier for me to move because at the time, IT jobs were, you walk out one door, you can walk in the other. So we were there for a few years, and then in 1985, we moved to New Jersey, again because when she got done with her postgraduate work, the pharmaceutical firm Ciba-Geigy, which is now since gone away and it's merged with, became Novartis. Yeah. So she got a job there. We moved to New Jersey, and we thought, well, we'll be there a couple years and then move on. Well, we had a family, and then 30 years later, we moved from New Jersey to Kennebunkport, Maine. Yeah. During that time, I managed to go back to school for a master's in computer science at the University of Pennsylvania. As our kids went to school, I got involved with and here comes the library stuff and the book stuff. Got involved with reading to our first grade, the first grade classes. The first grade teacher and the librarian at the elementary school worked hand in hand. Yeah. So they were, the curriculum informed what they did in the library and vice versa. So they were really a good team, and they encouraged parents to come in, read, be involved. So I got very involved with that. Yeah. One day I came home, and Mary asked me from work, how was the day? And I said, well, the highlight was reading to the first grade. And it went downhill from there. So she said, you should maybe go back to school for library science, and maybe you can, we laughed at that, and then I started thinking about it, and I said, why not? So I wound up getting a master's in library and information science at Rutgers in 2006. How'd we wind up in Kennebunkport? We honeymooned here in 1980, stayed at the Captain Lord Mansion. Yeah. And we said, someday maybe we'll settle down here. So we'd been coming back and forth. And when the time came for me to, I was getting close to retirement in 2015, and we said, well, maybe it's time to relocate. Yeah. So I did, and I kept working. I was able to work from home. They gave me a remote work arrangement. Yeah. So, and that's how I got here. Got involved with the Volunteer Fire Department in 2018, knew nothing about firefighting stuff. I know a little more than nothing now. Yeah. I'm always learning. And I retired in May, and as you know, we talked about, I'd like to do a little volunteering here, so this is how I got here.
Who did you work for when you were working in IT? Who did you work for?
I worked for General Electric for the first 10 years.
Yeah.
One was it used to be General Electric Credit Corporation. Now I think it evolved into GE Capital, was their financial arm. Then when we relocated to the Philadelphia area, I worked at GE in Valley Forge.
Okay.
And they did a number of components for the space shuttle.
Yeah.
And then after that, when we moved to New Jersey, I started working for the CIT group, which is a financial firm.
Yeah.
And there were some mergers there with Manufacturers Hanover and that kind of thing. And then I went to ITT, the avionics division, which was in New Jersey, in Nutley Clifton.
Yeah.
And that was it was interesting because the financial firms and manufacturing firms and ITT had a number of government contracts. And, so that was interesting. You had to have certain security clearances.
Right. Yeah.
And then I went to work for the old investment, it used to be Bear Stearns, and then they, of course, had those issues in 2008 when everything kind of fell over. They were taken over by JP Morgan Chase, and that's how I got to be with JP Morgan Chase for the rest of my career at that point. So it was, and that was a change because the thing with that was they got their hands in everything. Consumer, commercial, investment banking, treasury, worldwide securities, that whole thing.
Yeah.
So they never closed. And it was a huge mainframe footprint that they have. Probably one of the biggest.
Yeah.
And it's very, very busy, very high pressure.
You must have seen a lot of the stress, like from people that you worked with, or were you stuck in a basement in a computer?
No, we could. We worked closely with. What I did was sort of the infrastructure part. In other words, we have vendor software from IBM. It's database software. So IBM delivers that. We install it, we maintain it, put patches on, fixes, that kind of thing. Periodically, you have to roll new maintenance because you got to. The worst thing you could do, especially with JP Morgan Chase, is not keep up with the maintenance and have that bug that you didn't fix cause an outage, because the worst thing you could do with them is affect your customer reputation, dollars. So they are very, very, very geared towards you got to keep up with this. And, we were interviewing a guy one time, and we explained how we did things. He said, so it's kind of like painting a bridge, right? You start at one end, you get done, and you got to go back and paint. And I said, yeah, Lee, and guess what? Sometimes the paint's not even dry. So
this is true.
It was, you learn a lot, but as you get older, you say, okay, it's a younger person's game. Right.
Did you, at the time, cybersecurity, that must have crept in here and there, and you had to get
By the time
training.
I left, all I was doing was security and audit prep. Because for IT audits, again, you don't want to get dinged on an audit.
Right.
And it's the kind of thing an auditor, you meet with these auditors. Sometimes they don't always know the technology. It doesn't matter. You sometimes find yourself explaining it to them, so then they can audit it. Which is interesting. It's frustrating. And we were told, they said, look, they're like, the story of Christmas Carol, where at the end he says, the spirits that are all in one night, they can do anything they like. Well, auditors can do anything they like too. You don't have any choice. So you have to do it. If they say, show us your procedure for this, you have this nice procedure, and they say, this is great. Now show us, prove that you follow it and substantiate it. Give us instances where you said, okay, if there's a problem, we do this, this, and this. Give us a problem, for example, that you ran into, and show us the paperwork, if you will, the trail, how you addressed it, how you fixed it, how you made sure it wasn't going to happen again, and that kind of thing. And so it was cybersecurity. With a company like JP Morgan Chase, you're first of all, your data is protected three ways from Sunday kind of thing.
Yes.
It's like it's replicated, replicated, and replicated. So the integrity is there.
Yeah.
But the other thing is the security. Both for what they call data at rest and data in flight. So in other words, I'm sitting at a computer and I send something. Well, I want that encrypted. You know, I
Right.
sign on, I want this. I said, give me my balance, give me my numbers. I want that encrypted. When it sits over there on disk in some mainframe, as it's sitting on the disk, you want it encrypted too.
Wow.
You know, so because
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
you just don't know, and
Yeah.
so much now are in those
Yes. Yes.
in those disk drives and wherever, and you know those get compromised.
We've had a few sessions here with our local, there's a York County task force here. They help out working through even the nursing, the public health department, the police departments, just teaching people about banking and watching things that, you know, are happening
Right.
on the internet. And it is such a scary world. And
Yeah.
I always say, why, those people are so smart, why can't they be out curing cancer
doing
you know,
good
something?
things.
Yeah.
And some are, you'll find there's been stories of these people that would hack into places and they were very good, and some of them kind of turned around and they actually made
Yeah.
pretty good careers out of trying, you know, working for a company and trying to
Because you've
crack
got
their
that,
stuff.
you've got that
Right.
mindset.
So they'll
Yeah.
say, hey, look, this is what I
Devious.
did, so you got to fix it
Right.
this way, you know.
Right.
And
Yeah.
So, but there'll always be those that just get whatever kind of thrill it is they get out
Right.
of doing
Right.
that.
Yeah.
And it's, and the other thing you tell people, you know, we'll be sitting and Mary will say, oh, I got this weird email. And I say, delete it. I got this
Don't
text,
even open
delete
it.
it. You're not
Yeah.
sure, don't open it, just get rid of it.
Right.
They'll call you or someone will identify themselves or you'll
Mm-hmm.
get something in the mail or whatever. So, yeah, just, if you're not sure, just get rid of it. And
Yeah.
some of the more likely things are like, you'll get an email from someone you know who's in your contacts and they'll say,
Right.
hey, check this link out.
Right.
If you know your friends, you know they're not going to just say, hey, check this, here's a link. They're going to say, hi, how are you? And
Yes,
I was
yes.
looking at this cool video and here's the link.
Right,
And
right.
So again, just delete it.
I've had a few of those, or I thought you might like to see this picture
Yeah.
of you, or you know, something like that. And it's like, first of all, I don't think you ever had a picture of me, but
Yeah.
you got to know now. But there are some people who still, you know.
And it can look very real.
Oh,
you know?
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
you really, and people say, well, I'm at this, you know, here, I'm from, you know, IRS or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, they tell you, look at the address in the email, you know, expand it and look at the
Right,
domain, you know,
right.
you've probably run across this.
Yeah.
If it's some gobbledygook thing, it's
Yeah.
not real.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
and we had to go through, they would make us take training
Mm-hmm.
and say, okay, what would you do here and what would you do here?
Yeah.
And they periodically would send emails. And if you answered something like that, they would say, oh, we got you. Now you got to go to remedial training, you know. Or they'll say, very good, you didn't fall for this.
Okay.
But some of the training says, look for things like misspelling.
Yeah.
Look at the domain names and,
Yeah.
and you know, grammar and all that.
Yeah.
Those are clues.
Yeah,
you
when
know.
when the internet was kind of first on the scene, I remember, you know, looking at certain websites, you know, as part of probably at school, if you were in library science, you had to, you know,
Yeah.
critique or,
Right.
you know, once you build a website and you're looking at different ones saying, is this is real or this is fake?
Right.
You could pick up on those kinds of
Right.
things, but sometimes they would be really good.
Yeah, because one of the courses we took in the library, in the master's program, was web development.
Right.
Because the guy's point was, why are we putting you through this? But guess what? You may be working for a library where you don't have a webmaster. You
Right.
are it.
You are it, yeah.
So you need to understand HTML and all that other stuff and what to look at. And as soon as you see how those pages are put together,
Yeah.
you can see, well, you know, geez, anyone could save that source,
Yep.
mess around with it, put
Right.
it on their website
Yeah.
and change things around. It'll still look You know, there's the famous thing about whitehouse.gov versus
Oh, yeah, that's right.
whitehouse.com, you know, so
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So, and that's another thing to look at is
Yeah.
the .com and
Right,
the
right.
.govs and all
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a new world.
It really is. My first web page that my first project in that particular class at school, when I finished it and it worked,
Yeah.
the professor came around and he's looking at all of our coding.
Yeah.
And he says, I have no idea how you do this. I can't understand how this is working.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that a good thing? But
Well-
we couldn't use, WordPress or
No, that's
Dreamweaver
not-
or any.
right,
We had to
right.
learn how to use that. Like,
Well,
but to this
yeah.
day, I still, I look back at that project and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how I made it work, but
Funny
it's kind
story,
of funny.
because we started out that way. He said just plain old text editors and this kind of thing. And he said, and I want you to prove that it works well in at least 2 browsers.
Yeah.
You know, Firefox and Internet Explorer at
Yeah.
the time, or Chrome or whatever.
Right.
And I remember I was working on something and it was working perfectly, and I forget what I was using. And then I went and looked at it in the other browser, and everything was just jumbled. And I said, "Oh, geez, what
That
the
happened
heck?"
to
And
me
I said,
too.
"All right, think about it." Went back through my notes. I said, "Oh," and it was the littlest change,
I know.
and it was
A colon or
yeah,
a
yeah.
hashtag or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Crazy.
And then the day when he started us, like, okay, I'm going to show you how to use Dreamweaver and all this stuff. And it's drag and drop. It's this, it's this. and he said, okay, I can see how some of you are looking at me like you'd like to kill me right about now. and you're saying, well, why, Steve, did you make us do this? And he said,
Yeah.
well, it's because, guess what? Even with this fancy stuff, you're going to find out that maybe they don't do things exactly how you need it. Or,
Right.
the multiple browser thing.
Right.
He said, so you need to understand HTML because sometimes what they build might not be what you want. Not
Right.
that it's wrong, but it
Yeah.
just might not be what you want.
Right.
So you need to understand it.
Yeah.
And
And when you're building that stuff, you now have to look at what it's going to look like in at least 4 different devices.
yeah.
Because the way it
Oh yeah,
loads on a page.
now you've got the and phones and tablets and stuff. That was just coming into play in 2003, 4, 5,
Yeah.
6 when I was going. He said,
Yeah.
and he said, the up and coming thing are these handheld devices. Now you got to start coding for that too. And then there's also, we looked at style sheets, and like one of the things I learned with that is if you use the right style sheets, when you have a user print your page, you can do really cool things.
Yep.
So that, you don't need the dancing bookworm going across the
right.
screen when you want to print that. You just want the words.
Right,
Because you're going
right.
to highlight it, whatever.
Exactly.
And so it was an interesting
Yeah.
course.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite course when you were doing when you were going
Well,
through
I
your
like the web
master's?
stuff because, I'm a computer geek.
Yeah.
But outside of that, one of the most interesting and challenging was reference sources and services. So, and this guy said, we're going to do question sets throughout the term.
Yep.
And he said, now before you start throwing stuff at me, I did not make these up. These are actual questions people came into the library with.
Right.
And if you're going to be a reference librarian, you've got to be prepared. You've also got to be prepared. Guess what? Not everything's digitized. So you're going to have to go to the stacks
Right.
and make copies. And I did. And the nice thing about that is since most everything is digitized, there's no line at the copier. So it was great. But one of the questions, and he was good because he said, look, don't worry about necessarily getting the right answer. I'm interested in your process. And what we're going to do is when we discuss these, after you hand them in, we're going to go over them, and I'm going to ask people to say, what did you do for this? Or what did you run into for this? And don't worry about, again, getting the right answer. Just show me what you did. That's enough. So there was a question on when was the slide rule invented?
Okay.
It turns out, I think, if I remember correctly, a couple of guys in the 1600s maybe did it. Well, we were sitting, and there was a young woman here, and then there was a woman about my age here, and I was sitting here. And so he called on her, the young woman, who was right out of undergraduate and doing the graduate program. She said, well, I don't know. I could never find it. I looked at MLB.com and baseball.com and, Yankees.com and Phillies. All the baseball sites, I couldn't find out when the slide rule was invented.
Poor you.
So this woman, and she taps the young woman on the shoulder. She says, honey, I'm going to bring him a slide rule in. I'll show you. But it's just,
I know. Yep.
When I started college, I wound up a math major, but my first semester or my first term, I thought I was going to be an engineer. So the first thing you needed to have, forget the calculators, because even a basic function calculator was a couple $100. As it was, the slide rule that I needed, that I bought, was $25. And in 1971, that was, I had to go to my father and say, he said, why so much? I said, it's a good one.
Yeah,
It'll last me a while if I do this. And I still have it.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
So it was interesting to see the perception and what, it's...
And I think that happens, when you're doing a search on the internet too. I mean, those search terms, capital punishment would come up. Was it the Washington Capitals?
Right.
The hockey team? Or was it capital,
Or
so
depression.
The
depression of 29, or I really don't feel so good about myself, depression.
So I could see where she might have come with that slide rule.
Yeah, no, it's because she never used one. By the time she started even kindergarten, you probably could get they were giving away four-function calculators, in the mail if you signed up for something.
Exactly.
Right? So it's interesting to see how things have changed.
Yeah. So when you retired here, what made you decide on volunteering for the fire department?
Well, I knew one of the reasons, the plan was in 2015, I was going to work a couple of years from home and then retire.
Okay.
Well, 2 became 4, became 7.
Yeah.
Part of that was because, what am I going to do? I don't want to just retire and do nothing. I want to have somewhere to be because, as you know, Mary, my wife, runs the Cape Porpoise Library. I can't go down there and hang out at the library all the time. She'll kill me, and as well she should, because I should have my own life.
Well, just so you know, she's not paying us for you to be here. Get him out of my house.
She said she came home and she joked. She said, "Oh yeah," she said, "I told him keep him as long as you want." I needed to. I don't want to run away from things. I want to run or walk towards something.
Okay.
So as I got to know more people.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know Dan Beard. You probably do.
I do.
Most of the town knows Dan. He was a firefighter, and he came into the library one day at Cape Porpoise, and he was talking to Mary, and I don't know how they got onto the topic, and he said, well, Joe is looking for something just to get out at night or something, just once a week, whatever. He said, we're looking for people. And she said, well, I don't want him running into any burning buildings, like that. And he said, no, he said, we need drivers, we need people to work pumps and all that other stuff, direct traffic. There's all kinds of things you can do. And you can also support the interior firefighters. If you know what they're up against, you know that, okay, they're going in. Those air bottles last 20 minutes maybe.
Okay.
You want to have a bunch of bottles lined up. So you can do that.
Yeah.
You know your truck, you know where to go, you can set things out. So I said, well, I'll give it a try. I said, I can make a good batch of 4-alarm chili, but I don't know what else. And so I did. I talked to Chief Everett and Dick Stedman when I went, and they said, "Oh yeah, we'll train you. Are you willing to learn how to drive a truck?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." That's how I got started.
Yeah.
And it's good because you meet a lot of different people. And people that you might not have met because different walks of life, different backgrounds, but you learn from each other. And the thing about the fire department, I have to say, is all the people, I'm not going to go through names because I know I'll forget some, but all the people I've worked with are very good about working with you, training. Because you know, one of the problems I have if I do is, and Mary will tell you this, is that if I try something and don't get it right the first time, I feel like, okay, what did I do wrong? Why didn't I? Well, because you've never done it before. But the folks here are saying, yeah, you're gonna. That's why we train. In
Yeah.
fact, we have to make an extra effort to train
Yeah.
because we don't, fortunately, get a lot of serious calls. You know, but the other side of that coin is you've got to, I think, put forth extra efforts to train.
Right.
And so they're doing a good job every week. Wednesday training. And they do a tri-town thing with Arundel and Kennebunk.
Yeah.
So you get to meet those folks. And you learn from everybody. So
Yeah.
they've been really good about
Yeah.
spending time with me and that kind of thing, and it creates a sort of another community.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly. I was just going to say that so far what I've seen just working here in Kennebunkport is there's a serious brotherhood with the fire department. Our producer, Mike Kelly, when he's loading this video equipment in the back of his car, I see his boots, I see his jacket.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're all like
It's
ready to
all in my
roll,
truck, yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's
So
and you just get in there and go, and you learn. In the beginning, it was like, okay, I got a call. Where do I go? What do I eat? But you just learn by
Yeah.
doing.
Yep.
And say, okay, well, that call, that's right down the road from me. I'm just going to go right to the scene, or whatever. Or if it's out by the beach, I'll go to Goose Rocks. Or
Right.
if it's down here, I'll probably go to Cape Porpoise or maybe
Yeah.
Port Village.
Yeah.
It's
well, and you learn all those. You have to learn all those roads. You
Yes.
have to
Oh,
not
yeah.
rely on GPS,
Right.
Because, and I think I've seen that happen a few times where,
Yeah.
there isn't
Yeah.
somebody doing. And that's part of your homework is
Yeah.
to figure out where.
Yeah, and we
things
do.
are
The
located.
technology is there. I mean, our phones have an app, and it'll do GPS. It'll map it out. It'll. One of the first things I do. More recently, I've been taking a truck, and a couple of times it's been just me. And I say, even if I'm pretty sure where I'm going,
Yep.
as a backup, I'll put that in there and have it tell me where to turn and all that.
Okay.
But you also have to. There are things you learn about, like if you're not the first engine on scene, which I have to keep reminding myself, okay, don't go necessarily right to the scene. Stay back, and even better, find a hydrant, because you got to think water supply if you're not the first engine. And these are things I'm learning. I wouldn't
Yeah.
have known this
Right,
even a
right.
year or two ago.
Yeah.
So the other night we were cruising around Ocean Ave and some of those roads back there, because we had to look at where find the what we call the dry hydrants. In other words,
Okay.
where you would draft from a pond.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
hooked into a pond.
Yeah.
And it was raining, it was dark.
Someone's pool.
And yeah. And the roads off of Ocean Ave, I mean, they kind of snake and wind.
Yeah.
And so it was
Yeah.
good to go out and see. Am I going to remember all of them? No, but at least
But that's good that
you
you're.
see it.
Yeah.
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 So.
Huh.
And then for the library, I've always liked books. I mean, when I was growing up, we didn't have like daycare and all that stuff. So when my mom had to go grocery shopping, I
Yeah.
went with her.
Yep.
And usually Thursday and Friday, and I would get to pick out a book every week. They were the little golden books and that
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah.
But, say what you will, I don't know about you, but when I went through the Library of Science, there was a time where they were critiquing, well, golden books did this and they didn't present that. I said, you know what? That's all true, but if it gets kids to read, that's the hook.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I remember that fondly because, I enjoyed
Yeah.
every week I got a different book to read. So now,
Yeah.
and my wife will tell you, we go into bookstores. We've been here downstairs and come out with stuff. Bookstores are deadly.
Yeah.
I always
Oh.
come out with something.
Me too.
The little bookstore down here in the port. I don't necessarily need something when I go in there, but I like to support them.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
I'll read it, and it'll either work or it won't. But in any case, I know I can pass it on.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Right. Right.
So I liked being, I liked working with the kids, and working in the library. And one of my final projects was to pick a library or media center and do an analysis, evaluate it. What does it need? What could be done to make it better? So I worked with that first grade teacher and the librarian.
Yeah.
And since then the librarian retired, and that first grade teacher is now the librarian,
Oh,
and
wow.
she's retired too.
Okay.
She just recently retired. So she said, I've been meaning to do things and whatnot. So I came up with some stuff, and she said, I showed it to her, and afterwards she said, can I have that? I said, yeah. So she incorporated some of that.
That's so great.
So it's nice.
And that's what you want. I mean, when
Yeah.
you're working on that master's
Yeah.
degree, you want some of your projects to,
Yeah.
Yeah. actually be followed through.
So it was
Yeah,
good.
that's awesome.
So.
Do you help Mary with different things at the library?
Yeah, we have a running gag that I've shared with you because they said, "Oh, you're going to go to Graves?" I said, "Yeah, I'm not working in that sweatshop at Cape Porpoise." No, I do. As you know, that's a whole different kind of library. It's a reading room kind of thing, and she has a staff of 2, of which she's one.
Yep.
And then the rest are all volunteers.
Right.
So yeah, I help out a lot, and I enjoy, because when she's got boxes of books that go up into the book closet. And guess what? They have to come down for the book sale. So I do that.
Yep.
In fact, I was just there today, and I said, I'm a few minutes early because we had to do I had Andy, our dog, as you know, he was at the library, and she said, I don't think he's going to last all 3 hours. So I took him back to the house, came back. I said, well, I got a few minutes before I come down here.
Yeah.
I said, you got any boxes to move? She said, well, as a matter of fact, there's 3 there, but I don't want you to get dirty. I said, no. I said, they're easy. I'll just bring them up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I help out whenever I can. And, she does a lot of stuff. She orders the book. She does, and I think, like you guys do here, she's done a lot of things above and beyond, and it works.
Yeah.
She'll say, Memorial Day, if the fire department wants to set up a table in front of the library and sell shirts, that's great.
Yeah.
We did that, and it was well received. They said, oh, it was nice to see the fire department there too.
Right.
So you do stuff like that, and
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm happy to help there. I find it fun,
And there's a lot of people that will ask me, not necessarily from here, but they'll say, so you work in this town that there's 3,600 people. Why are there 2 libraries? That just doesn't make any sense. It's like, well, if you went to that library, I mean, there's a contingent of people that really, love that place, and she's done such a great job of being a steward and caring for and building it up.
Yeah.
So, but same thing with Kennebunk. They're all very different.
Yeah, they are.
But for the community that they're serving.
Yeah. One of the tough things there that we went through with the pandemic was it couldn't be what it normally is, which is a little social center.
Right.
It's the people come in from different places, and we have a lot of different kinds of people.
Yeah.
And it's quite a set of characters, and I mean that in a good way.
Absolutely.
They add dimension and color and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And you couldn't do that during the pandemic. So that.
Yeah.
And she has a number of patrons that are older, and she has to kind of police that little parking area to make sure people don't park there to go over to Cape Porpoise to get to. So that the logistical challenge, you have your challenges here, and she has hers there sometimes. But by and large, most people, they're fine and everything.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, you get someone who's not so nice, but yeah, and I joke. I say, well, the nice thing about that library is if you come in and say, do we have a book? I can look over there and say, yeah, there's a space there. Yeah, we have it, but it's out. And she'll tell you, as you know, the card catalog is really a card catalog. It's cards, it's paper.
Yeah.
It has one computer there that people can use, and she has a laptop for the library stuff, patron list and that kind of thing. But that's it.
I miss the card catalog. I really do, because I think you learn a lot more from the way it's used rather than just typing something in and it magically appears.
Yeah,
it's almost like you're not using your brain anymore when you're
because
doing that
people
kind
come
of
in
stuff.
and they say, oh, you have one? And sometimes you have to show me. I see, this is how it used to work. And it still does here at Cape Porpoise,
Yeah.
But it is nice. Like here you have, as I've been learning the different things, the checkout and renewing and all that. And with a library of a size that's more than one room, you need something like that.
Yeah.
And the things you do here are nice. I enjoy the newsletter and seeing what's going on and that kind of thing and all the programs. So this is a great spot too. right in town. And
We're all very lucky,
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
Especially in this area to have the access to the different,
Yeah.
the different ones. So I remember a few years ago I went to the Prelude. They have a silent auction upstairs during that first weekend in Prelude, and then they've got the craft fair.
Right.
And so I went up onto the stage and I was looking at all the items, and there was a night stay at the Captain Jeffords.
Yeah.
And I look down and I see the person, first bid, Mary, from this library. And so I wrote my name under and I put Mary, the other library. And we went back and forth with this bidding, and it was just so funny.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but,
the other funny thing is her middle name is Louise.
so
But
is mine.
she is not Mary Lou,
Yeah,
unless
yeah.
you don't want to run afoul of that.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
she says, no, I'm Mary Louise. I'm not Mary Lou. Well, the funny thing is name change. You're getting a little off topic, but the quick little funny story. Talk about names. Before we were even dating, we were in college, and a bunch of men and women were sitting around talking, and we were talking about getting married and changing names and all that. And Mary said, "Oh no, I'm keeping my name." You wouldn't believe how many people misspell Gickness and get it. It's Gickniak or Gickness and all this. And she said, "So I'm keeping it." And she, besides, on a more serious note, she was, she was in a PhD in like, pathology and that kind of. She did a lot of research.
Yeah. So
if
her
you change
name-
your name, it's hard to track you.
Yep.
But when we were first talking about this, she said, "Yeah, when my mother told me, Mary, when you grow up, you're going to change your name." She said, "Good, I'll be Susan, because I really don't like the name Mary." So I knew, even before we got serious, that she was going to keep her own name, and I could care less. My main concern is that we get along, which we do.
Yeah.
But anyway, when we were talking about names, it just put that in my head. I had to.
I sometimes wish I kept mine. It's got a lot more vowels than the name I have.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm the last one. So my father did not have any boys.
Yeah.
And his sister did not have any children.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, a name's a name. And there are other things that are more important.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So, so during the pandemic, did you, were you still working? Did I already ask you
Yes,
this?
I was working
Until?
May of this year.
That's right. Okay, May of this year. I was
Yeah,
thinking
yeah,
last
yeah,
year.
yeah.
So, and it was doable. It
Yeah.
was doable because you had
Well,
already
the
gone
interesting
remote.
thing is, the one thing I didn't have to deal with was getting used to working from home. Because I
Yeah.
went through that in 2015.
So you showed them how to do it.
There's a learning curve. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what I would tell people, the thing you got to do is get up away from the desk every so often. It's all too easy to,
Yeah.
my commute was like 5 minutes from one end of the room to the other. I'd take my coffee in. I'd usually get on between 7:30 or so. And then a lot of times I wouldn't be done, even though I could have logged off at, say,
Yeah.
4:30.
Yeah.
5:30. People would say, "Hey, I'm in the office, but I'm going to head home. Can you cover any on-call that comes up? I'll send it over to you." Yeah, so I would stay online. And then I realized, and Mary would say, she said, they're getting more hours out of you now. Because what would you do if you were in an office at around 10 in the morning?
Right.
You'd go downstairs, go to the little coffee. There was a sandwich truck and a food truck, and you go and get your coffee and your breakfast sandwich, and you'd be gone for about 20 minutes, half hour. Yeah, you might talk work, but you'd be away. You'd be walking.
Right.
And so I would tell people, I said, get out at lunch, take your breaks, stretch in the middle of the afternoon, in the morning, and whatnot, because otherwise,
Yeah.
and have a place where you can go.
That's not.
I was very lucky in the house we bought. It had a 4th bedroom. I think it was listed as a bonus room on the thing. But it was a small office, and it was set up as an office, so all I did was I made it my office, and I could close myself off
Right.
from the rest of the house
Yeah.
if I had to.
Yeah. And it didn't
So-
have that, come in.
Yeah,
Get
yeah.
to work.
Yeah. So that there were a lot of other things everyone had to adjust to, but working from home was not one of them, because I was kind of used to it.
Yeah. When we get ready to close out our interview, we do a little rapid fire 1-word answers.
Okay.
question.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Is this pass fail?
Pretty easy. Favorite restaurant? Doesn't have to be from around here.
Let's see. I'm trying to think. In Summit, New Jersey,
Okay.
Marco Polo's.
Oh, okay. I have a nephew that lives in Chatham, so I might have
Ah.
to go. Is it still open, do you think?
It's still open.
Oh, I'll have to
Good
go
basic
check that
Italian
out.
food.
Okay.
It's just
Oh, good.
Although I have to say, this is more than one word, but
It's okay.
Traditions over in Biddeford could become our new Marco
Sacco.
Polo's. I mean, Sacco.
Yeah.
I
That's good
forget
too.
about crossing the
That's
river.
all right.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's...
Marco Polo. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll have
yeah.
to check that off.
It's technically two words, but
Yeah,
it's
that's
the
all right.
guy's name. So we'll
That's
go
all
with
right.
that. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite book? Favorite book? Doesn't have to be one word.
Right. It's a toss-up between, I'll say, The Stand by Stephen King,
Okay.
and then probably the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
All right.
Those
Excellent.
are my favorites.
Movie?
The Day the Earth Stood Still, 1951 movie.
Ooh.
Michael Rennie and Patricia Neal.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
We might have to put that, Mike. We might have to put that on our movie night list.
It's one of the more intelligent science
Yeah,
fiction movies, and there's
yeah.
a scene at the end where he's telling them, you people on Earth got to get along, and you look at the people, and there's all kinds of cultures that are represented. And for
Yeah.
1951,
Yeah.
that was kind of
yeah.
so.
It's been a while since I've
Yeah,
seen that, so
yeah,
I'm gonna have to go back
yeah,
and preview it.
Yeah,
So, favorite ice cream?
probably chocolate.
Chocolate. Are you a drinker? Do you have a favorite cocktail?
Manhattan
Manhattan.
and Mike Kelly.
Dry or sweet?
Well, I'll tell you, now, you're going to get me started, so this is more than one word.
Okay.
I have two kinds. I make a bourbon Manhattan.
Okay.
It's a sweet vermouth. And my father used to like his Southern Comfort Manhattans.
Okay.
Same ratio, 3-to-1, but you use the dry vermouth because the Southern Comfort's already sweet.
Sweet. Yep.
And then outside of a cocktail that you mix, I'm a Scotch drinker.
Okay.
I'm good friends with all members of the Walker family.
Okay.
All the colors of the Johnny Walker family. Yeah.
I just tried some blue not that long ago. Wow.
I got not one but two bottles for my retirement from two different people. My brother gave me one, and then a coworker gave me one. So
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
It's and my wife is not a Johnny Walker fan. Because the black label I like, but it's a little smokier, and she's more of a Glenlivet gal. But she likes the Johnny Walker Blue. She'll say, that's pretty good.
Yeah, very good. I kept the box. I didn't keep the bottle. I wish I had.
I know, it's a shame. It's
But
like, what do you do with it?
I
It's so
know.
nice. It's
Yeah,
too nice to
it's-
throw out.
Yeah. And coolest place you've ever been?
Well, I
Not
got to say,
temperature-wise.
pardon?
Not temperature-wise, but just
Yeah.
coolest.
Well, I mean, I wound up living here in Kennebunkport, so
Okay.
I'd say it's one of the coolest. But
Yeah.
having a daughter who's a bit of a world traveler, she was in Quito, Ecuador.
Oh,
We got to visit that place, and I really have fond memories of that.
oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice. How many kids?
3,
3?
yeah,
Okay.
a girl and 2 boys.
Okay. And what do they do?
My daughter, Amanda, works with, she's right now in Sofia, Bulgaria,
Jeez.
but in both Ecuador and Bulgaria, she's
Yeah.
worked at the American schools
Okay.
with special needs
Yep.
programs for kids.
Wow.
And she's very good at some of the tougher
How wonderful.
kids. And she and a coworker recently went to Bonn, Germany to give presentations. She said there was a lot of interest,
Wow.
including from one of the places she interviewed, but she came in number 2. And they didn't hire her, but they came back. They said, we might want to have you do a little consulting for us and that kind of thing.
Yep.
So and then Will is the middle child, and right now he's out in Colorado for a while. He's working at a place called The Feed, which gears its outdoor type stuff, both nourishment, food,
Right.
and also gear.
Yep.
And he's an outdoor kind of guy. He does long distance skateboarding and
Wow.
cycling and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he's starting to get into the management side of things. And,
Yeah.
and so we'll see.
Yeah.
He said, I'm going to stay out here for a while and see,
Yeah.
see how it goes.
You can always visit.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, we'd like to get out there to see him before he comes back here.
Yeah.
Just to see the area.
Yeah.
The third child is my son Max, and he lives right up the road on Mills Road. He recently went through sort of an online course at University of New Hampshire. Talk about web development, that kind of thing, front end, back end. And he got an internship out of that, which became a job. And
Wow.
he can work mostly from home.
Oh, that's
so
great.
he's doing that.
That must be nice to have not too far.
Yeah.
You think
yeah.
you'll get him in the fire department?
You know, I think the fire department liked both of my sons because they're in great shape.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm not sure they're interested in that
Yeah.
at the time. But you know, it could change.
I have to say, when we did a little donut coffee with the fire department earlier this year.
Yeah.
It was really nice to see Nate Shore and Alex
Champagne.
Thank you. I was going to
yeah.
say Carbonone. I
Yeah,
knew that was
they're
wrong.
good guys.
But I mean, both boys, young men,
Yeah.
men. You know, I
Yeah.
knew them as
Yeah.
you know, these little kids
Yeah.
that would come in with their
Just saw
parents.
Nate last night at training, so he's a regular
So-
show. And Alex, not too long ago, got his interior. They go through
Yeah.
what they call firefighter 1 and 2,
Yeah.
and when you get through that, your
Yeah,
interior
yeah, he
qualifies.
seems to
and
really be enjoying it.
very good. There was a week where we had a rash of calls, and it just so happened we wound up together either riding or whatever. And at one point I got out, we pulled up to Goose Rock Station. I said, man, are you following me? He said, I know, right? What a crazy week. Very nice. They're both very nice guys.
Yep.
And
Yep.
In fact, when we did the fire prevention week over at Consolidated,
Yeah.
he and I, when they brought the grades, I think it was grades 2 and 3 for the stop, drop, and roll thing,
yeah.
and they broke them up into small groups, and we had 4 or 5 kids on a mat. He was very good. We both got down on hands and knees, you know, and sat and talked to them face to face, and they had questions. They told us what they did. We got so involved, we were ready to do the stop, drop, and roll, and we said, okay, time to go out and look at the truck. So we never did do that. But yeah, he was in there, and he was telling them different things, and we were kind
wow.
of feeding off each other, and the kids were just coming right. I mean, they were all over it.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
That's so
that was
great.
A good,
Do you have any trips planned coming up, or now that we've sort of
I think
able to travel again?
we would like to get out to Colorado.
Yeah.
To see Will.
Yeah.
But we also are thinking about in the spring going to Bulgaria.
Nice.
It was Amanda
Yeah.
and her family.
Yeah.
She and her partner have one child, Alma, will be 4 in January. So obviously, you know, they're good about coming here. You know, they were here in the summer for 2 or 3
Yeah.
weeks, so
Yeah.
we'd like to go there, you know, and get to see them
Yeah.
up close. I
Yeah.
mean, thankfully you have all this video technology, so
Right.
at least you can do video
Right.
calls. But
Yeah.
so those are the 2 big trips. Other than that, just kind of little things. In fact, we were just, you know, people say, well, how do you like retirement? And I said, I don't know, I'm too busy to find out,
Right.
which is good.
Which is good.
So Mary and I had to say, you know, we've got to set a day where we can just do nothing but stuff for us. We don't necessarily have to go anywhere, but just, so we're zeroing in on Mondays.
Okay.
So we just went up to North Conway yesterday for the rail. And Mary said, she said, I kind of made fun of you to Amanda, our daughter. She said, yeah, I took Dad, I fed him an apple, and just so happened the railroad station was near the fire station, so I had to go check the trucks out. So he went and looked at the trucks, and then he rode on the train. He was very well behaved. Yeah, so, and I was.
That's great.
So, you know, we're trying to do, and so we would like to explore more of, like, not so much the coast, but also
Inland
and whatnot. One of the things we're talking about is maybe follow US 1 all the way up.
Oh, wow.
But I looked at my Atlas and Gazetteer. I said, geez, they said there's not a whole lot of roads, much less cell service if you get stuck up there. But we'll see. We'll see.
And don't take an electric car because you probably have nowhere to plug it in.
Yeah. So that's sort of, we talk about that, but yeah, we'd like to get to know the rest of the state a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
Well, good for you. I mean, well deserved, because it sounds like you've done a lot in,
Yeah, it was a good career. It's funny. I was just telling Mary the other day. I said I'm still trying to figure out this retirement thing a little bit, but I'm getting better. But one thing I can tell you, I don't regret at all leaving my job. Not just because it was time.
It was time.
It was time, and I never looked back on that.
Yeah.
So
Good for you. And thank you so much for being part of our team here at Graves Library.
Well, I'm glad to. Like I said, I was telling Judy, I said, well, they haven't fired me yet.
Yeah.
I'm 2 for 2 on my.
So, and because he works on Friday, we now have started calling him Joe Friday.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Hey, I've been called worse, so I'll take it.
So thank you so much for being on our show tonight.
Well, thanks for having me.
And thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you right here next time on What's Your Story?
Okay.